My talk today will be about building fast, scalable, and modern applications with Nuxt 3. So who am I? A little introduction about myself. My name is Selemon Brahanu. I'm a front-end developer working with both Vue and Nuxt, and also an open source contributor. And here are my social links, my GitHub social link, and my Twitter social link. And I'm sure you have seen this profile picture somewhere. If you have, well, I believe we follow one another or we read each other's tweets. So moving on, we are going to have multiple sessions based on Nuxt 3, with the first session of today being introducing Nuxt 3, and the second session where we talk about rendering modes in Nuxt 3. And the other sessions will be about features that Nuxt 3 gives us or offers us. And we are going to go into detail about all the features that Nuxt 3 provides us with. And the other session will be about tools used to build Nuxt 3. And the amazing thing about this is that all the tools that were used to build Nuxt 3, they are all open source. And we are going to check each one and every one of them as we create demos and replicate the functionality that each one and every one of them are able to provide us, such as auto imports of components, APIs, and composables, and many more. And the last session will be deployments, whereby we are going to be deploying whatever we built to various deployment targets. So let's start with our first session today, which is introducing Nuxt. So as always, the first question will be, what is Nuxt? So Nuxt is a free, powerful, progressive, and open source framework built on Vue that simplifies the development process by enabling you as the developer to build or to create server-side rendered, statically generated, and single-page applications that are performant by default and scalable. So its Nuxt is built on Nuxt 3 to be precise, because we have two versions of Nuxt, namely Nuxt 2 and Nuxt 3. You might also have heard of Nuxt Bridge, which basically it's a way for Nuxt 2 developers to be able to maintain their same code base, which they have built their project, which is using Nuxt 2, but for them to be able to enjoy Nuxt 3 features without changing their whole code base. And this was created so as to enable them to have an easier time the time they decide to migrate their whole projects from Nuxt 2 to Nuxt 3. So with Nuxt 3 being built on the latest version of Vue 3, it means that it supports the latest features, enhancements, and improvements of Vue, including the composition API, enhanced module imports, and faster overall app speeds, thanks to Vite. It's fully written in TypeScript from the ground up, so that you as the developer can have a great developer experience as you're using Nuxt 3 to develop your applications. So with it being fully written in TypeScript, you get to enjoy a full code intelligence, whereby if you create a simple API in your server directory, which we are going to talk about in the coming sessions, whereby you have your server directory and you create an API directory, and inside your API directory, you create a file, let's say hello.get.ts. So that's whereby you write your backend code and define your API. So if you go to the components directory, and inside your component, you try to fetch from data from your API, what will happen is that you'll automatically see Nuxt giving you hints and telling you, hey, you defined an API known as hello. And this is how you will use it. And these are the HTTP methods that you specify that you're going to use. So if it's hello.get.ts, Nuxt will tell you that, hey, the only HTTP method that you are allowed to use is get, because that's what you specified. If you didn't specify anything, it will just show you a list of all the HTTP methods. And that's the benefit that you get from Nuxt 3 being fully written in TypeScript. Nuxt 3 is performant and lightweight out of the box, which we are going to see in a while. Nuxt 3 offers us versatile rendering modes, such as client-side rendering, static side generation, server-side rendering of all types, incremental static generation, which is a mix of both server-side rendering and static side generation with stale while revalidate caching. So we also have universal rendering, which is the most common rendering mode talked about when we talk about Nuxt. So it's both a mixture of server-side rendering and client-side rendering, which in the coming sessions, we are going to dive in deeper and create demos of how you can create all these types of applications with the various rendering modes. We also have hybrid rendering, whereby it combines all the rendering modes into one, and you actually can define it in your nuxt.config.ts file through something known as route rules, whereby you specify that this route, let's say, for example, you have an e-commerce application, right? And then you have different pages. Let's say, for example, you have a landing page, you have the products page, and then you have the blog page, and lastly, you have the admin dashboard. So what hybrid rendering allows you to do is to specify the rendering mode in each route, or rather in each page. So for our landing page, we can use something like incremental static generation. For our products page, we can use server-side rendering because it's good for SEO. And for our blog, we can use static side generation or incremental static generation. And for our admin dashboard, we can use client-side rendering because we don't need any SEO. So moving on, Nuxt 3 has a very modular architecture, whereby you can simply write your code and share it along with your fellow developers, whereby all of you can work on that same project together without having any problems. We are going to talk about this more in the next coming sessions. And lastly, you can simply deploy your Nuxt 3 application anywhere you want with 0 configurations. You can deploy your Nuxt You can deploy your Nuxt application to AWS, Azure, Clever, Cloudflare, DigitalOcean, Firebase, Heroku, Edge.io, Netlify, Render, Stormkit, and Vercel. I'm sure the most common places we have deployed our applications are Vercel and Netlify, and maybe Heroku. But in the coming sessions, which is the last session, we are going to deploy our applications to various deployment targets, and so that I can show you how Nuxt requires 0 configurations to be able to do all this. So now let's talk about the differences. We have seen Nuxt 3, and we have also seen Nuxt 2. I believe we have used Nuxt 2. And so let's talk about the differences between Nuxt 2 and Nuxt 3. Why should we even use Nuxt 3 in the first place? What are the major enhancements, fixes, or features that we get with Nuxt 3 that we don't get in Nuxt 2? So the first difference is that Nuxt 3 is built on Vue 3, whereas Nuxt 2 is built on Vue 2. And we can also go on and talk about the bundler, right? which bundler does Nuxt 3 use and which bundler does Nuxt 2 use. So, but before we even talk about bundlers, we should first answer the question, what is a bundler? So a bundler is simply a development tool that combines many code files into a single one that is production ready and loadable in the browser. So think of it as this way. Imagine you wanted to go for a vacation, right? And normally when people go for vacations, they carry their clothes. So now, if you didn't have like bundlers, or rather in our scenario, a suitcase, you'll be carrying all your clothes using your hands and going to the airport, which is not quite right. And it's not the standard. So what you'll need is a suitcase whereby you can fold your clothes neatly and put it inside your suitcase neatly. And so this is what a bundler simply does when we are talking about in the tech term. A bundler is simply a development tool that combines many JavaScript files. So in our example, many clothes into a single one that is production ready and loadable in the browser. So why do we even need bundlers? So let me show you why we need bundlers. So here is a simple example. So before the era of bundlers, when we were building applications, so here in this example, it's just a simple e-commerce applications whereby we have separated the functionality into different JavaScript files and we have imported them. But we can decide to be fancy and actually add in some libraries, which you can see such as Axios, Lodash, Sweet Alert, and many more. Now, for a small application such as a to-do app, it's fine. We can do this. But for big applications such as e-commerce sites, it will be very hard and tedious to keep all the dependencies fresh. And so this is where bundlers come in. They help us not only combine many JavaScript code files into a single one, but also they have some extra features which they come with, such as code optimizations and code minimization to help us with the bundle size. So this is the raw form without any bundlers. So if we used a bundler, we would move from that to this. So this is the work of a bundler. So what the bundler has done, it has taken all our JavaScript files and put them together into a single one. So in our scenario, all of our JavaScript files is inside the dist/bundle.js. And as you can actually see, this is much more neat than the previous way of doing things. So let's talk about the examples of bundlers. We have seen what bundlers are and an example of a project, a simple project that doesn't use a bundler, and how bundlers come in and help us tidy up our code. And so now, when we move on, we need to talk about examples of bundlers. What kind of bundlers are there? So the first one is Webpack. And Webpack, I'm sure all of us have heard of that. It's one of the most famous bundlers in the JavaScript ecosystem, and it has been around for a while. The second one is Vite, which is another popular bundler that was developed by the creator of Vue, who is even new. And when you ask anyone about Vite, what they will tell you is that Vite is fast, and it's really, really fast. It's what differentiates Webpack and Vite is its speed and the way it handles modules. And in a while, or in a moment, we are going to see how that happens, what makes Vite fast. So the other type of bundler is Rollup, which is actually used by Vite under the hood. And I'm going to show you how that happens. Moving on, we have Parcel. I don't know if you have heard of Parcel. But parcel is another bundler which requires zero configuration. You can just use it out of the box. So let's talk about Vite versus Webpack. So Vite is fast, and as we know, it's a bundler that is really, really fast. And what makes Vite fast is that it utilizes something that is known as native ES modules. So Vite takes a different approach in terms of bundling. Instead of Vite bundling all your code into one file, what Vite does is that it utilizes a feature called native ES modules, which is supported by modern browsers. But before even we go that far and talk about browsers that support native ES modules, let's first talk about what native ES modules mean. So ES modules, aka ECMAScript module, was created to provide a way for us as developers to organize and share JavaScript code in a modular fashion. And what do I mean by modular fashion? It basically simply allows me and you as developers to break down our code into small reusable components that can be shared. And so how this happens is that, let me give you an example. So here I have a simple code whereby it's simply an up.js file whereby I have an array of products, cut items, get all products functions, get product by ID functions, and add to cart, get cut items, clear cut, and then we write the code for getting everything, right? For getting all products, the product ID, then we get that product using its product ID. So what native or rather ES modules allow us to do is to break this huge chunk of code into smaller parts. And so this is how it will look like. So here it is. So that huge block of code, we have now broken it down into different modules or files. So now we have our products.js file, which contains all of our products. And then it exports a function called get all products. So something else about ES modules is that it uses the export and import statements, okay, rather than the module.imports and module.exports. So we also have the cat.js file or module whereby it has a cat items array, and then it exports a function whereby you can add a product to the cart, and you can also get the cart items, and at the same time you can also be able to clear the cart. So now when we go back to our app.js file, instead of us having that huge chunk of code in one place, now we can be able to import the get all products function, get product by ID function from the product.js file, and also the same from the cat.js file. And now, as you can see, the app.js file is actually smaller because we have broken down our code into modules that are reusable. And the best thing about this is that it's reusable. If you need to use the get all products function, instead of copy pasting, what you can do is you can import it from the products module. So during development, what Vite does, and so this is where we talk about how Webpack works, right? So you have seen that Vite normally what it does, it breaks down your code. Actually, the main reason that Vite is quite fast is because it breaks down your code into smaller chunks or smaller modules, and it loads them individually. So if I can go back, And so this is what happens. Instead of it having a huge file, what it does is it breaks it into smaller modules that can be able to be loaded individually. And so before we move forward, basically we have said that Vite utilizes a feature called native ES modules, which we have seen, that it allows us to break down our code into small reusable components. And ES modules is actually supported by modern browsers such as Chrome, Firefox, Safari, Opera, and MS Edge or Microsoft Edge. So how Vite was created, it was basically when Eva knew when he was going to bed, he had an idea. So instead of basically the Vue CLI was created using Webpack, it uses Webpack as its bundler. And so he was creating a project. And at that time, actually, they were building Vue 3. So he didn't have the time like to fully explore his idea. And so when he was creating a project using Vue, he realized that it took a lot of time to load. And so as he went to bed, he had an idea. What if, since modern browsers now support native ES modules, what if there was a way to make everything much faster and offer an optimized developer experience? And so basically the next day he just woke up and just built a simple demo to demonstrate whether whatever he thought of could actually work, and it did. But since they were working on Vue 3, he didn't put much time into it because Vue 3, him being the other, he needed to be there and do his part. And so after Vue 3 was almost complete, that's when he started working on Vite. So I just wanted to give you an overview of what happened with Vite and how it came to be. So let's look at Webpack. So when we look at Webpack, what normally happens with Webpack is that if you can see here, this bundle-based dev server is how actually Webpack does work. So Webpack, under the hood, it's a bundler. So what it simply does is that it bundles the whole of your file. Unlike Vite, which actually, if you can see over here, it only, when the browser requests for the home route, as you can see here, it only processes the modules used by that route. So instead of it using everything or bundling everything all at once, what it does is that when the browser tells it, hey, I need the home route, so Vite goes ahead and only processes the module used by that route. Unlike in Webpack, whereby the Webpack bundler, what it will simply do is that it will crawl all of your JavaScript modules. And then before launching your dev server, it will actually have crawled every JavaScript module that you have. And as you might guess, that will really lead to slow startup times in terms of you waiting to view your application in the browser. So with Vite, things are quite different. So what Vite does is, as we have said, when the browser requests for the home route, Vite only processes the modules used by that route. So in our case, if our home route has only like, let's say 2 modules, Vite will only process those 2 modules as needed by the browser. So when you use Vite during development, each module is served as a separate file rather than being bundled up all together. And this actually has several benefits. So one of the benefits is faster startup times as a result of Vite loading modules individually, one by one, instead of combining all the code into one file. So Vite normally processes things, separately as modules, as different small modules. That's why it's able to give us the great and fast developer experience that we experience with Vite. And if you ask a lot of people, why is Vite so fast, they'll just tell you it is what it is. They don't quite go into the detail of explaining why Vite is fast. But as for you, now you know that the main feature that makes Vite so fast is its ability to actually split up a huge file into different modules and then load only those modules that are required. So, and that leads to fast startup times. And the second great benefit that we get from Vite is fast updates with HMR. So what HMR means, it's hot module replacement. It's simply when you make changes to your code. Let's say in our scenario, we had the products module, right? So if we simply make a change over there, what Vite or what will happen is that only the modified module is going to be updated and reloaded in the browser. So in our case, if we updated the products module, let's say we changed a little bit of code, what Vite is going to do is that it's only going to update and reload that module alone in the browser. It's not going to touch any other module. But for our brother Webpack, it does the opposite. It first updates that module and then it reloads the whole of the modules. And that leads to slow startup times and slow updates. And by it doing that, you won't be able to see your changes immediately in the browser because you'll need to wait for it to bundle everything up. And also during development, Vite doesn't bundle everything, anything. It doesn't even bundle anything at all. Instead, it leverages the browser's native support for ES module to handle module loading and execution. So basically, as we have said, so Vite leverages the browser's ability to handle module loading and execution. Unlike Webpack, whereby it bundles everything for you, Vite doesn't actually do that. Vite doesn't have any bundler in terms of when you're busy developing your applications. So when we talk about Vite and Webpack, what the clear difference is that Vite is really fast and Webpack is quite slow. And for small projects, you might say, it doesn't matter. But when you have like a big project, you really start seeing the difference. Because once, allow me to tell you a little bit of something. So once I was using Webpack with Nuxt 2, and also I used it with Vue, the time when Webpack was its default bundler. And then I created a huge project. And believe me when I tell you that I needed to wait for 10 minutes for Webpack to do all the bundling and stuff. And so you just sit there, you wait as it bundles everything, and then you see your changes in the browser. And then when you actually update something, you also need to wait again for it to bundle everything up again. That is not quite a good developer experience. And that's why Vite was born. So let's continue talking about the differences. Is that Nuxt 2 under the hood uses Webpack as its bundler. And this leads us to another difference, which is the build times. So with Nuxt 2 using Webpack, it means that it has slower build times, right? It has really, really slow build times because it utilizes Webpack. But in Nuxt 3, something interesting happens. So you will think that Nuxt 3 uses Vite, which is quite true, but it only doesn't use Vite alone. It uses Vite as its default bundler, but you also have an option to go for Webpack 5 as your builder. So Nuxt 3 has two options. You can either go with Vite as your default bundler, which is the case in Nuxt Nuxt 3, they use Vite as their main bundler, or you could opt in for Webpack. But yeah, I know you have a question. Why use Webpack at all? I mean, we have clearly seen that Vite is fast. We have all experienced how fast Vite is. So why will they give, or why will they even consider having Webpack as an option? Well, here's the answer. So Webpack is very famous and it has been used for quite a while. A lot of developers are very familiar with Webpack. So the Nuxt team has a philosophy whereby they handle everything for you. They just want you to have the best experience while using Nuxt to build your applications. And for this experience to be complete, they don't want you to be restricted to what you can or not use. So that's why they said, okay. So actually, when they were building Nuxt 3, Vite wasn't that much popular. So they were using Webpack 5 until they saw that Vite's ecosystem is growing. So let us use Vite. But since a lot of companies and developers are very, very familiar with Webpack, it would be a shame to deny them that chance to use a Webpack with Nuxt 3. So they actually included Webpack 5 also as a bundler for Nuxt 3. So you have two options to go with Nuxt 3. And maybe in the future, we might see more bundlers being supported for Nuxt 3. Let's talk about the bundle size. So in Nuxt 2, the bundle size is 52 megabytes, which is a little bit heavy. And it uses Webpack, so that's a no-brainer. We know why it's this heavy. But in Nuxt 3, who can take a wild guess how many megabytes it is? So let me give you a hint: 2023 and Nuxt 3. So if you said 3 megabytes, you are correct. So with Nuxt 3, the bundle size is very, very minimal. It's 3 megabytes. And so how did all of this change? How did it go from 52 megabytes to 3 megabytes? Well, it's actually because of number one, Nuxt requires minimal to no configurations at all. And the other reason being is that it uses Vite. So let's talk about Vite once more, a little bit about Vite. So Vite itself has two bundlers under the hood, namely ESBuild and Rollup. So ESBuild is a very fast bundler written in Go. And in terms of how it's used in Vite, it's used to bundle your dependencies. As far for bundling your Vue, TS, JSX, or TSX files, Vue uses Rollup under the hood to bundle your application files. And this is where Rollup comes in and shines. So Rollup has a feature known as tree shaking. And what tree shaking means is the ability to remove unused code in the final build of your application. So what Rollup does is that it checks, has this code been used? If not, then it's not going to be included in the final production build. Let me give you an example. Let's assume that you are using a component library, and that component library has over 30 components. And so you only used 10 components. So during our production, when you build your application using yarn build, npm build, npm build, or burn build, what will happen is that Rollup will come in and check, how many components have you used? Well, 10. Well, those are the only components that I'm going to bundle. The rest of the 20 components, I'm not going to include them in the final build. And that's why, and by Rollup doing that, you end up with an optimized bundle size, the bundle size that you deserve and not more. And hence, that's why we have 3 megabytes. So call starts in Nuxt 2 is 300 milliseconds because of Webpack. We have seen why this is the case. It's because Webpack bundles all of your modules, even the ones that you didn't even touch at all. So it goes ahead and bundles everything all at once, and that takes up time. In terms of Nuxt 3, the cold start is 5 milliseconds, thanks to Pete. In Nuxt 3, we get something known as file-based routing. This is whereby all your route links are generated automatically for you. Nuxt 3 generates them out automatically for you. And how it does this, it's basically, it looks at your pages directory structure. So basically, if you have a pages directory, and then you create a file known as index.view, what Nuxt does is that it looks at it and said, index.view, so that's a slash. If you create another file, home.view, Nuxt will look at it and say, home.view, so that will be /home. So everything will be generated automatically for you. You don't have to worry about writing your routes. Nuxt will do that automatically for you. The other stuff is auto inputs. As of 2023, me back then in the year 2012, I thought that we are going to have flying cars in the year 2020, but apparently we are lazy. We don't want to write any import statements. And so Nuxt, the Nuxt 3 team also knows that. So they decided to add a feature known as auto inputs, whereby you don't need to write import statements anymore. So basically, if you create a component in your components directory, you can use it anywhere in your, either in your components directory or in your pages directory. You can just go and use it without even having to worry about writing your import statements. The same is with composables and plugins and also helper functions that you define in your utils directory. But if you say that, oh, I'm not lazy, I want to write my own import statements, well, you can go ahead and do that. You can simply go to your nuxt.config.ts file and disable auto imports by simply going there and creating imports object, and then inside it, you write auto input and set it to false. So when you do this, what Nuxt will do is that it will not be auto importing any components, composables, plugins, and helper functions for you. You'll be doing that all on your own. So let's look at a simple demo of okay. Let's look at a simple demo of in terms of the cold starts, and also about the cold start here and the bundle sizing. Okay. So are you still with me? Fran?
Absolutely, absolutely.
Okay. So let me share my other screen. Okay. So I have simply created a Nuxt 2 project. As you can see, this is what we are given when we create a Nuxt 2 project. We have the components directory, which has two components, namely the Nuxt logo component and the tutorial.view component. We also have the pages directory, whereby we have one file, one entry file known as index.view. We also have the static directory, which contains our Nuxt logo. We also have our storm, which has a simple README markdown file. And we have nuxt.config.js. So let's see how long it will take us to start it. So if I just run yarn-dev, see what's happening here. Things are being bundled on the client and on the server. See, actually, this is Webpack doing its thing. See, now we have to wait for it to finish doing everything. On the server, it's still bundling up. So if I head over to localhost 3000, okay. If I head over to localhost 3000, okay. Okay, so let me share my other screen. So here it is. Here is our Nuxt 2 project loaded up. So let's try and change something. So we can go back to the terminal. And let me try to change a little bit or update something here. So if I head over to my VS Code, and then basically, let me just use this terminal that is here. Okay. So let me just run it, yandev. Okay, let's just wait for it to bundle everything up. And so that what I simply want to demonstrate is what happens the moment I try to update or to change the code a little bit. So I'm going to remove this tutorial component and simply create a div, my h1 element, and say hello JS Kenya. So if I go, okay. So as you can see down here, it's now bundling again, everything from the start. But this time around, the difference from the first time is that at first it bundles everything. The second time, it won't take as much time as the first time. Maybe just a little less second, it will just take, let's say at first, if it was like 5 seconds, whenever I update, it will take like maybe 4 seconds. It won't take 5 seconds again. But if you have a huge project, it's going to take a lot of time. As you can see here, it tells me the page that I've updated, which is the pages/index.view. And if I head over to my browser, and share this, I get hello from Vue.js Kenya. But I didn't get this instantaneously. I needed to wait for Webpack to do its thing, bundle everything, including the modules that I've not even touched, so that I can simply see what I have changed. And so if we do this with Nuxt 3, let me quickly create a Nuxt 3 project. So when you are creating a Nuxt 3 project, we have a CLI known as Nuxi. which enables us to create an Nuxt3 project. As you can see, it's very, very fast. It has already gone ahead and created my Nuxt3 project. And so what I need to do is to cd into it, Nuxt3, and then run either npm install, yarn install, or npm install to install the dependencies. So I'll simply do that. And it's going to go ahead and install all the dependencies. And so after this installs, we are going to see the folder structure, what Nuxt3 comes in with, and we are going to compare between Nuxt2 and Nuxt3 in terms of what files comes with each one of them. So as that is installing the dependencies, we can come back here again. Let's change something. And I want you to look at the terminal down here, this. So let me change this. And as you can see, it tells me that the pages/index.view has been updated, and it has gone ahead and compiled everything. But this time around, it's quite fast. It doesn't take that much time. And in the nuxt.config.js file of the Nuxt2, we have, I also installed some modules such as Tailwind CSS and TypeScript. Yeah, since this Nuxt2 project, you have the ability to choose actually in Nuxt2 whether you want your Nuxt2 project to be either in TypeScript or JavaScript. For this demo, I went ahead and took TypeScript. So we can go back here. And our Nuxt3 project has already been installed. So we can head over to the VS Code. Okay. Okay. So here we are in our Nuxt3 project. As you can see, it's very minimal. We have the .nuxt directory, and actually inside here, you can inspect some of the files. Let me just show you the inputs. This is where all the inputs are. Auto imports, if you need your view APIs, are actually imported in here. So ref, watch fact, watch, and all the lifecycle hooks that are provided by Vue. And we have our node modules directory, the public directory, and then the server directory. This is as simple as it can get with Nuxt3. We also have our nuxt.config.ts file with the dev tools enabled. And we are going to be talking about the dev tools in the other coming session. So let's see how long it can take Nuxt3 to start up. So if I simply run pm dev, okay, oh, sorry, pm dev. Okay, there we have it. There it is. We already have our link. As you can see, no bundling has taken place during when we are developing our application. Nothing, no development has taken place. We haven't seen anything bundling unlike in Nuxt 2, whereby we have seen that it bundles everything up. But as for Nuxt 3, since it uses Vite as its default bundler, there's no bundling that takes place in development. Then down here, we have the Nuxt DevTools. Mm-hmm. So that's what I had for you for today. And so if you have any questions that you would like me to answer, go ahead and ask them. Thank you.
Absolutely, absolutely. That was an amazing presentation. Thank you, Salmon. That was actually very, very insightful. I will start by asking Ruben. Ruben, you've raised your hand. I believe you have a question.
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yes.
So thank you, Selemon. And my question is, so when do you use like plain old Vue versus Nuxt? Like when do you decide that this project I'm going to go with Nuxt or just plain Vue? Thanks.
Okay. Thank you, Ruben, for your question. Next we'll have Rizwan.
Oh yeah. Hi. So actually, I'm having three questions, and one of it is just a concern, maybe just directly to Solomon, about the choice of the package manager that he's using. Why PNPM? Rather, maybe his personal like preference for it. Like why did he just decide to use that? Another one is talking of the bundler Vite. When he was running the Nuxt app, there's something like a Nitro that was running there. The role of Nitro into why is it that Nuxt has decided to use that, and what exactly is it? Because back of my mind, I thought maybe it's the bundler that they're using, but assumingly if they're using Vite, then that should be something else. Another thing is just a concern also about the routing, the file-based routing, because there's a project that I was working on with Nuxt, and there's a time when I was needed to like have some conditional rendering of the routes, like kind of a stack navigator, whereby depending on the user role, these are the routes that these guys are supposed to access. So like, is there a way that we can override the pages folder to have it like, to give it another name, like if you have pages 1, pages 2, pages 3, so that you can make the routing available depending on any kind of state that you're depending on. I hope the question is clear. Kind of a stack navigation, kind of, because in the normal view, I will create like 2 files for a router file and another router file, then I'll render them on the index file that I need this router to be available if the user is this or that. Yeah, those are just the questions that I'm having, maybe.
Thanks for your question, Rizwan. I'll hand it over back to Salmon.
Yeah, thank you for the questions. Those are really, really great questions. Let me start with answering Ruben. You asked when should you use a simple Vue.js single page application, and when do you use Nuxt? So if you have a really, really, really huge project, that basically a simple example is an e-commerce application, whereby you have different pages, such as the landing page, which needs to be really good in terms of SEO, whereby your customers can be able to find your page, and so that you can rank at the top. You can go with Nuxt you can go with Nuxt because it offers different versatile rendering modes, which you can decide which one to use per page. So an example that I gave earlier, you have a landing page, a products page, a blog page, and an admin dashboard. So for the landing page, since it doesn't change that much, we can go with static site generation, which is good for SEO and which is very, very fast. For your products page, since products change quite often, whereby you need to, let's say, you add like 2 to 3 products every day, you can use server-side rendering because it generates HTML on each request. And that being the first one is, the second one is that it's really, really good for SEO. And if anyone searches for your product, you will rank at the top. And so that means you'll be able to get high traffic because your website content is properly indexed. So with the products page, I'll go with server-side rendering. And let's say that you also write articles about your products. So for that, I'll go with incremental static generation, which is both, it mixes both the best world of server-side rendering and static site generation. And the way it does this and why you should use it is because if you just go with the old plain static site rendering, what happens is that every time you need to publish a new article, you would need to publish it and then build your application again, then deploying it. You need another one, you'll be doing the same thing over and over again. And so that is not quite great. So you can use something known as incremental static generation, whereby you tell Nuxt, hey Nuxt, let's say that you write your articles after every month, right? You release one blog article every month. So I can use incremental static generation and tell Nuxt, hey Nuxt, after every 30 days, send your request to the server and check if a new article has actually been uploaded. And if it has been uploaded, well then the page will actually be generated again, and now it will contain your blog article. So that's much better than you having to update manually and then build, then deploy again. So for that, for the blog pages, I'll go with incremental stack generation. And for your admin dashboard, it doesn't require any SEO. So we'll go with client-side rendering for that. And so how this answers your question is that with Nuxt, you have a lot of options to choose from, unlike just a simple view single page application, whereby you basically you can use it if you want to build sites that don't require SEO and are highly interactive. Now, Ruben, have I answered your question?
Oh yeah, yeah. That's a good answer. And also, I also feel that you could have talked about Turbo Pack when you were talking about bundlers, but you can touch on it another day. But thank you for answering my question.
You're welcome. And Turbo Pack was really, really great. When the Vercel team actually marketed a Turbo Pack, it was it was great. I thought that maybe we had a competitor to beat, but it happens that it wasn't as fast as they claimed it to be. And Ivanu stepped up and did some benchmarks and actually showed that a beat is actually still the king in terms of speed. So to answer Rizwan's question about, was it about route guards, Rizwan?
No, actually, it was about this the point in the view of like a normal Vue.js application. There's an entry file where you import the router in that entry file. So you can decide to have like 3 pages that are having different stacks of different routes, so that at that entry file, there's logic that you write maybe to whatever, like just logic that will make you render those pages conditionally. Like if you have a piece of state that is telling you whether kind of role based. So you say that if this user is this, then render, or rather the router page should be from this page. Now in the case of Nuxt, whereby we have predefined like the pages route, everything that is in the pages route are just routes. So is there a way that we can override that default behavior so that we can define more than two stacks of routes that we are going to render conditionally? I don't know if I'm clear on that.
Yeah. And now I actually understand your question, which is a really good question. With Nuxt actually creating the route links for you, you can also go ahead and customize how your application works. So we have something known as middlewares. So by using middlewares, we can simply say who has access to what resource. So if it's based on roles, you can say the admin has access to this and this page. And if it's the admin, we can show him or her this page in such a way. So, and you also have something like layouts, whereby you can choose to show different basically sidebars or navigation, or rather headers, based on the role of the user. So this question is actually really, really great. And in the next session, we're actually going to talk about this, the file-based routing. We'll go more in depth, and we'll also talk about the middlewares, how you can protect your basically how you can define your route guards by using middlewares in Nuxt, and also talk more a bit layouts, how you can simply use layouts to structure your application based on certain conditions. So basically on the next session, the next coming sessions will actually touch this, and we'll actually see how this works in Nuxt 3. And actually, it's really interesting how it works. So actually, at first, when people hear about this, that it's file-based routing and all of that, they wonder, how can I render my pages or my layout based on a certain condition? And so in the next coming session, we'll actually dive deeper into this, and we'll actually create a demo, and that will be able to answer your question more deeply.
Awesome. Rizwan, did you have another question?
Yeah, the other question was on the Nitro thing.
Oh, okay. Yeah, actually, Nitro is the new server engine that powers Nuxt. And the great thing about Nitro is that it's open source. And what Nitro simply is, it's a tool for creating web servers that are lightweight and performant. So how does Nuxt 3 use Nitro? So Nitro unlocks full stack capabilities for Nuxt 3. And what I mean by full stack capabilities is for, let's say, if you're a full stack developer, Nitro gives you that capability to be able to create full stack applications using Nuxt 3, whereby you can simply define your APIs and routes inside the server directory. So when in the CLI, you might have seen that whenever, basically I can show it to you again. So here it is. So if I just did that. So it says Nuxt 3.6.1 with Nitro, which is the server engine that powers Nuxt. And then this is Vite working. And also we have Nitro for the server engine. So this belongs to the server engine. And basically, I know I've left you. Can you hear me?
Yes,
I
yes,
can
we can.
get you.
Okay. Oh, so I know that this hasn't fully answered your question. Basically, I'm leaving everyone hanging so that basically everything that we have just touched on the service will dive deeper in the coming sections, and you'll actually see how Nuxt is built. And we'll also touch on Nitro, what Nitro is, and how does it power Nuxt, and why do we even need Nitro in the first place? So on this coming section, when we talk about the features, we're actually going to dive deeper into Nitro, and I'll show you how it unlocks full stack capabilities for Nuxt 3. In Nuxt 2, there were some limitations faced, whereby you could create a full stack applications, but there were some latencies that caused problems. And so when the Nuxt team sat down, they decided that it's time we created something for Nuxt 3 that will be able to give developers a better experience when they are building their applications. So that's why Nitro was introduced, so that you can be able to create your APIs and routes with little to minimal configurations, and you can fully utilize the power of Nitro easily. I believe there's another question. Rizwan, you asked about PMPM, the package managers.
Oh yeah. The like, why did you prefer it? The preference of it compared to the other two.
Okay, so basically it's a personal preference, but allow me to say this. We have basically NPM, we have YAN, we have PNPM, and then we also have BUN. BUN, I'm sure you have heard of BUN. If not, it's basically one of, it acts as a package manager. And so basically PNPM is much faster. I could have used the BUN, which is the fastest of them all. So it's personal preference. If you prefer to go with YAN as your package manager, you can do so. If you prefer to go with NPM, which is a bit quite slow. I'm sure you have seen those memes whereby someone is just waiting for NPM to install the dependencies. NPM is very, very slow, but PNPM, it's really, really fast.
Nice, amazing. Thank you very much, Salmon. This has been a very, very insightful meetup. To be honest, I wish we could go on. I think the same way you're glued when, you know, an episode that you're watching hits a cliffhanger and you have to wait the next week to see the next episode. That's how I'm feeling right now. I can't wait for next week to hear the next, what you talk about next. So thank you very much, Salmon. And thank you very much to the community, to everyone who took your time to attend this meetup. Yeah, thank you very much. We really appreciate that. Make sure to follow us on social media. On Twitter, we are at Kenya View. We are also on LinkedIn, View Kenya. We have a group on LinkedIn, same View KE. So kindly follow us and watch out for our new posts. So next week, let's meet same time, same place. And thank you. See you there.
Okay, Bram, thank you for having me. And before I leave or we leave, can I say something?
Absolutely.
Yeah, for Rizwan and Ruben, I know I've just given you the surface level answers, and it's because I want you to be in the next session. whereby we'll be talking about rendering modes. And then after that, we're going to be talking about the features of Nuxt 3. And then after that, we're going to talk about the tools that made Nuxt 3 possible. And during the features session, it's actually going to be really, really interesting because we are going to build a small Nuxt 3, just a minimal Nuxt 3 with some of its features, which is going to be really, really cool. So don't miss out on that. And so thank you for everyone for attending. And thank you to the Vue.js Kenya for having me. It has been an honor to have spoke today.